And I did take
But there's no use having a sign, we don't have a generator first, right?
no, those signs don't need a generator.
I mean, we don't need a sign telling people to go someplace if we don't have power there.
I think you've got a point. We gotta fix our priorities. Is it
That's what I was trying to.
telling the people where to go or having a place where to go if they can get there?
Basic checklist.
And I think emergency power is as important as this.
That's what I'm hearing from you, fire department.
And they both fall hand in hand.
Behind water.
You can't tell them where to go.
Behind
You
water.
can't-
Yeah, water. What about, Jennifer, what else, you've been more involved in this than anybody, what else? we
Well,
need
I
to-
was gonna say also a challenge was, people getting to the shelters. There was a couple of calls into 911, you know, I need a ride to a shelter, I'm freezing. Tri-River was not running that day. We had someone call, wanted to know if we could give them gas money to get to a shelter. You know, they had no money for gas, you know, and they were freezing cold. And so I don't know about, you know, the other part as far as Mud River, but I know directly here in town, there was a family that walked to the Lincoln Primary Care, had 3 kids, and they walked from up by the nursing home
That during
way.
the snow just recently,
Excuse me?
that during the recent, the snow.
Yes, during the
that's
recent, yes, and I know with, you know, ice and snow and kind of hazard driving other than in July, but there had been a challenge of, they had no way to get, to a shelter.
But that's something, transportation is a serious issue.
And given the fact this last one was right at the end of the month,
Right.
and a lot of our senior citizens and, I don't know our word, perhaps less fortunate, there, yeah, that's the word I was looking for. Some of those people, end of the month, they just didn't have money for gasoline and stuff to run. What ones did have a few generators, they didn't have money to run them, you know, we
Not
did what we
cheap.
could.
It's not cheap.
Right.
One other thing, back a couple of years ago when they was planning for the pandemic issue, having worked with the school board as a bus driver, they came out and asked us to work with them in providing transportation for people to get to the shops and transport them to different locations. We done exercises with them, we went and run mock exercises and actually picked up people, drove them, deposited time,
Right.
and done all that stuff. So there is still an avenue there that you can probably use to run a school bus in areas and pick people up and transport them. But since that training 2 or 3 years ago, nothing's developed further with it, it's kind of dropped to the wayside. So that avenue's probably still there, just needs to be tweaked a little bit. Look at it.
The school board is a valuable source in the county. I think once we know what we need, then I think then we go ask, and I'm sure they will try to assist where they can.
We'll have to find out what's fire departments or what facilities want to be part of this. And then after we find out which one's going to be part of it, then it'll be up to facilities to go around to all the people in their area and say, this is, when something happens, this is where we're going to go. You know, like the people in Hamlin, they're going to go to this place, and the people in Allen Creek probably have a couple of different places, a couple of churches or fire department, whatever. But then we'll have to go out into the community and say, we're going to do this, this is what we're going to do, and when something happens, this is where you all need to go. You need to know anything, this is where you need to go.
I wonder if you could get something on a utility bill printed, say, in the West Hamlin area, and I'm looking at the mayor here, on the water bill. You know, say we get a shelter set up at West Hamlin Volunteer Fire Department, and on your utility bill, you could put, for an emergency, a new shelter has been created at the West Hamlin Volunteer Fire Department, you know, maybe something like that, maybe in Hamlin
We
with the
do.
sewer. I know you all have, most people have a sewer bill here, right?
Stickers you can put on a refrigerator and
Or if you get
Yes.
if you get
We
a church
did put
volunteer,
things like that
yes,
on
what
water.
they got to pick up be the shelter. Get a big sign made, that says this is an emergency shelter site, like we used to do the old bomb shelter locations years ago.
If we done something like the sticker, the Lincoln Times, they send out, what is it, Sean, every Saturday? To everybody, so.
What about the mass mailing, box holder mailing?
Armstrong. They do a shelter.
There's lots of opportunities, I think once we get the plan, I guess what I was thinking, if we decide to do the survey, some of that stuff we have, I think, wait down the road, but we got some immediate things, what I'm hearing now, we should be looking at is trying to figure out generator, how to deal with that, and help maybe purchase those or something, so that we can at least have the fire departments alive and going in the communities. Even though in some cases, we know in Griffithville and Hamlin, they get isolated, but still, it may be, the disaster might be somewhere else, it might not be here. If it's water, it's always.
Well, the Finch Fire Department, I'm sure everybody would agree with this, as far as fire department. Even though it may not be a long-term, shelter setup, everybody would agree that they would at least be, at the very minimum, be able to set it up temporarily until you got a bigger one set up to take everybody to.
I think that.
And I think we've all done that at one time.
Well, I think our people is accustomed that you guys have taken sort of care of the situation, and that's who they look to. But still, if we come up with some other plan, fire departments will be a link in that communication, I think, and helping get their community aware of what the plan is.
The town of Hamlin's been looking into this issue for a while now, and everybody thinks because the clinic, the wellness center is in Hamlin, that everybody here has a place to go, but that wouldn't necessarily be the case if we had a flood, because you can't get past the ball field, so that doesn't really help the people in town. So the town of Hamlin's already been looking into getting a generator to put at the town hall, where we could use the community center in the basement, which would hold a lot of people.
Well, that's what I look at, the town
That would-
itself.
Yes, that would be our first step, to be a generator. Then we got the place.
Yeah,
Just need
got a good place.
Well, between the fire department and you're so close there,
Yeah,
y'all could feed off of each other.
right.
Same way we are, and that's what we're looking at. We don't have a big place, and of course, the LCOC uses the back of our town hall. We rent it to them for their seniors. But they do have a place to shelter.
In
There's-
emergency, yeah.
There's food preparation. We don't have showers. Fire station does have showers, but we don't.
We don't either.
And-
One place to rest.
We're looking at that. They were talking about the Red Cross cots. I had an experience last year, and I've shared this with Mr. McCann. I called Francis on this. 2 o'clock last Thursday afternoon, our church, we were making apple butter. 2 o'clock in the afternoon, a big Red Cross vehicle rolled in on our parking lot, and 2 people got out, and they had a state map. They'd been sent to Lincoln County. They had 1,000 meals in the back of the truck. They were trying to find people that needed meals. They were lost. They didn't have a clue where they were. So I called Francis, put the guy on the phone, let him talk to Francis, because, 911 knows more about where all these power outages than I do, that's the operator. And so, we did that and sent them back to the wellness center at the Lincoln Primary Care, because there were some people eating there to distribute some meals. So, to me, that was kind of like the Red Cross dropped the ball or
Well,
something
what you
there.
gotta realize is the Red Cross just depends on volunteers coming in from other states
They
and
were,
everywhere
they were
else to
from
man
another
the
state. They were
station.
from Pennsylvania, I believe.
Yeah, and they just go in there and try to do a good deed,
Yeah.
but
But the Red Cross is different than the rest of us. The Red Cross is mandated by Congress to provide service. But the Red Cross gets no funding other than through private contributions. And the Red Cross is not eligible for FEMA
Correct.
reimbursement during a disaster. So if we as a county go out and buy $5,000 worth of water on our own, it's eligible for reimbursement under public assistance. If the Red Cross goes out and buys that $5,000 worth of water and brings it to us, it has to come out of their donated money,
Correct.
and they don't get reimbursed from FEMA. So we're better off on the scale of things, for Red Cross's sake, if we can take care of those meals and those other things through some other source, because the Red Cross doesn't get funding like we're eligible for.
they depend on, it's like we seen the other night, they had the big television thing to get the donations in, because they had to have money to take care of the East Coast.
I don't know how they survive.
Well, and the other thing with the Red Cross is you can't depend on them for 48 to 72 hours. It may take them that long to get the supplies to us. So we've got to be able to take care of ourselves for at least 3 days
Yeah.
in order to give them time to get those supplies. That's why one of the things I think we really got to look at is in every community, those relationships and those memos of understanding, whatever you want to call them, between ourselves and our churches. Because Alan's already said it, our biggest problem is we don't have people to man shelters when we do open a shelter.
And there is a certain skill needed.
Uh,
Certain people can handle it.
If you're not
Situation.
careful, the wrong person in the shelter will make you shine, or they'll make you pull your hair out, it just depends.
Jennifer can share those kind of things with us. Did you, maybe
Jennifer,
something
that's
else you
5
want to
years
add?
since July.
Yeah, right.
At the nursing home, we are mandated to have contracts with outside agencies for disasters. Like, I have a contract with each of the hospitals that they have to reserve so many beds for my patients in a disaster. If I lose power and it's cold, Cattle will hold 20 of my patients. St. Mary's may hold 20. We have that same contract with food vendors. That may be something they want to include in their plan. Contact USD, say, we have a disaster, how much can you donate? How much can you donate? And then look at something from the other end of the county, things like a clearinghouse there, and something in place the same way. So the hospitals have been excellent to work with us. They've lost beds when we needed them. We maybe need to include those into our plan too. They are a resource for us.
I'd say that's valuable information to have.
Funding to do that.
Okay, Francis, do you have something?
You were talking about people taking care of their neighbors, both from July and from this past one. I had a lady come to me at least 3 times last week and 2 or 3 times during the June storm to get food and water for people in her community, and she was taking care of them. She came.
I think that most of the people in the county, a high percentage, would do that if they knew where to go to get things and what do I need to do and those kind of things. People would do it. I've never seen anybody get, very seldom ever ask somebody to do something on a human nature thing that they will not do. Now, that's political things, I can't help it. But human nature, yes. They just, neighbors I got, that all help one another. Never ask, never, now, it's just that thing. But you gotta know what to ask for and what to do and those things. But, I think that's where we're at.
Excuse me, on the other hand of that too is, yes, people come and get stuff from their neighbors, but in July, also people came and got stuff saying they're getting it for their neighbors, and they were selling it for $5, $10 a
I heard
case of
something
water.
about that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know, it's not like we can say, hey, you know, are you taking this really to your neighbor? Even last week, we had people come and get MREs for, you know, neighbors and different things like that. It's not like you can hunt them down and chase them, but you also had people that abused it, that said they were taking it to their neighbors, which is awful for the elderly that's on oxygen, that need ice to, you know, keep their medicine or insulin and different things like that, which I know you will always have that. But this last time, I made people show their driver's license at Lincoln Primary Care of what area they lived in, and if they got mad, well, they didn't get any. You know, it's kind
Well, I
of
think
almost to the meaning of having a tough love, saying, we want to help you.
There's nothing wrong with that as
Right.
far as verification.
Yeah, going from one place to the other, get things, and then they were selling it out the back of their truck on July 4th because it was hot, you know? And so you have that too.
Doesn't make you happy.
Yeah.
Well, I'm running down and got a back though.
Is there anything else at 7:30?
Well, let's see what our plan is, our steps that we're gonna take before we meet again.
Okay.
Thank you.
Our first step, what we gonna do?
Ask each fire department that wants a generator to go home and figure out what their need is, what the wattage need is, and come with a plan of, ask us how much can you help us do toward that, and we'll see what we can do. But I can't say, yeah, we'll do this or that, but we'll be serious about it.
Alan's supposed to have that guy from the water company actually come to Duval whenever he goes to the water company to look at our station and all that stuff already.
If those of you that want me to have him come through and take a look at the buildings and give a professional breakdown, what he's done is he's taken pictures. It's not gonna cost us anything, and there's no commitment if he does that.
Right. Well, I think that's needed. You need as precise and exact as you can get. At the same time, I'd ask each fire person to go back and look at your electric bill, call the people at the electric company and say, we're thinking about putting a generator in. Do you have anybody who can tell us what kind of wattage we need? They might be able to do that on this demand side.
I think we're looking into it pretty soon though for a generator.
Well, that's what I'd encourage you to do, is to,
May not be able to buy one for the next 90 days.
it may be tight. But I'd say as quick as you can get your demand information, that's the first thing. What else we got?
What's number 2?
What do you think's the next most important thing?
I think letting people know where to establish shelters, to let that, when a disaster happens, this place, unless it's flooded, like Chris was saying with the Lincoln Primary Care, but to establish places in Allen Creek, Hamlin, and Harts area, to start off small, or these are the places you can go when something happens, to contact to find out the information.
And I think one of the things that I heard earlier from one of the guys over here was establishing kind of what the minimum level of services or stuff that they need in order to open a shelter, to make it a viable shelter that can provide
Well,
service.
I think each fire department needs to, at the present time, let Jennifer know what they can do and what they can't do, whatever. But she needs to know that, I think, and eventually if we come to the point of getting somebody to help coordinate this, and all that information needs to be there. But hopefully, if we can do this survey thing, then we can have more information. But in the meantime, I'm here 6 months on this, and then by the time we figure out what to do, we'll probably talk about 9-10 months. But we need something now, I think, to be ready, just in case for the winter, I think. I think it'd be sad on our part, as I look at it from the commission, if we realize we've identified a problem now and we don't act and try to do something about it. It just seems like we waited, we've looked, and we think, well, it's not going to happen, but I'm convinced that we need to be more ready than we have been in the past. And again, to go back to John, I commend him for the work they've done over there.
Does West Hamlin have a generator? West Hamlin Volunteer Fire Department, did you get them a generator or something?
West Hamlin Fire Department bought the generator that was in the old 911 center, the 35 kW generator that had very few hours on it when we moved from the facility.
That's not much, though.
It did the 911 center for 10 years. Heat and air.
Big one.
The last thing I knew of, they were still trying to get it plugged in as far as electrical and stuff. So.
Could we not encourage them, because I know West Hamlin, and Alan knows too, we've had so many people come forward and say they had nowhere to go. They knew that things were over here at Hamlin, but they didn't have anything at West Hamlin.
And back to what I heard Jennifer said a while ago about the apartments over there being vacated, is there any way we can work with those people and figure out what might get them to do to have generators put in there so that people wouldn't have to be able to?
Yes, I spoke to the director last week, to check on them to see if they had electricity, and they did. And she said they have promised to put a generator in there at the Unity Apartments. She said they promised her back in July, and she said, thank the Lord we have electricity this time around, but whoever owns that complex, they are trying to work on getting a generator in those apartments so those people will not have to be evacuated from that
I think
place.
it solves some of the problems that.
That's gonna be a pretty expensive proposition.
Oh, it will.
That's gonna be more expensive than probably what we have in the one here at the courthouse.
I think next time we meet, we should try and invite them ahead of time. That's an awful lot of people up there, and
Well, I mean, that's what I'm talking about, but that's a private company, and they need to invest, they're making money.
Yep.
What about the nursing home? Do they have a generator?
We have 3 phases of electric, so we're very rarely completely out. But we are required by law to have 2, and we're putting in 2 more. But again, we have to have all this contracts happen.
Well, that's what I was thinking about the Unity Apartments. I was suspecting they should have some type of backup. Most of them are so.
Most of their backup is the hospital. We discharge to Unity Apartments quite a bit, and that's always in the discharge plan. That contract goes to the hospital too. And the hospital can hold so many of those patients.
I think we probably, one of the things we need to do is involve those people more that are just from our side of it.
Mr. McCann, between now and then, could you all talk to the sheriff and I guess probation and see if before we get something developed between now and the 6 months, if we need such help as just able bags to help us pack water and stuff, be more accessible, because, I mean, there's been a lot of times that, you know, these guys will come out on their own, like the auxiliary guys will go get help. I mean,
Right, brush.
Jesse Mullins comes on our fire calls and helps us even with nobody asking, and I love that. But just having an able back would be great, and such as Chad Chandler and Jay Owens guys, if they could even work out something where they could get their day report workers to come out and just load water. I mean, you know, our main concern is going to be emergencies.
Well,
You know, when something occurs, and if that right there takes a load off, and I know there's times it's only Chris, Terry, and Francis down there, a lot of times just load water,
Like I
because
say, not
Alan's got
just
100 things going on.
wherever it's needed, I think.
Well, I
we need
determined
to-
after the March incident, I was getting too old to unload too many skids of water. And that's one reason we got that fork truck in there, and I think everybody appreciated the fork truck. Yeah, and we've learned though from the derecho. We've learned we're in better shape than we were in July, and we've got more to grow. It's not where we're at, where we wanna be, but there's no doubt that we're all in better shape than we were this time last year.
So one of the things, maybe one of the things we need to do is on our to-do list is to contact the probation service. That's who helps us with coordinating that. Wherever the need is, they should be able to call in and say, we need some help for this reason, and then they can, you know, whoever we got, you know, sometimes we got more people than others, depends on people's mischievousness, how many times they get in trouble.
Next time Chris gets 3 generators, I want one.
Well, it may see them guys a different side of life too.
And
I mean, the guys that's doing it, that's been in trouble, they may see how they can give back instead.
we found out that most of the people, so this is a non-violent type of people we deal with, are very good to help us. We've done all kinds of work with their help, in addition to cleaning up roadsides and all that, but they've actually done a lot of painting and just different things. We find them very helpful. Anything else that we need to immediately take care of? And, you know, if you go back and you think of something, just call Judy.
I kinda like the idea on the color code. I know some people don't like to deal with those, but if it was a countywide color code, I mean, that would let people know when it's time to do this, time to activate the churches, time to do whatever. I mean, you wouldn't wanna go overboard with it and have 25, 30 different colors, but if you could narrow it down to 5, or if you don't wanna go with colors, go with letters or numbers, A, B, C, D, and E, you know,
It
whatever.
is, it's a possibility, but it does get confusing sometimes, but I think myself, I'd wait till we get the survey if we end up doing that, and then we see what is proposed and what might be, but it just seemed like it was working somewhere the other day, that's what they were doing. We got down to blue, most seriously, you know, hospitals use it all the time, different codes.
Well, I spent 34 years in highways maintaining structure, and when it came to winter time, emergency, CSRIC and things, we had color codes. We had green, which meant everything was good. We had yellow, which meant it's getting a little worse. Then we went into red, it's more serious, and blue was the last one you went into.
Yeah, keep it simple and prioritize them.
Yeah, it's responsive time, all about, so make sure everybody knows
Right.
what's going on.
So make all your 3 o'clock in the morning, say, so red,
You knew what it was.
know exactly what to do.
Get snow plows rolling.
And, ice makers, that's one of the things.
Ice makers or ice machine, ice
Ice,
makers?
machine ice maker. Alan had one down, he done some good work down there to the center back before we got all the ice delivered, and do the making the
It
bags.
was the only ice that we had for about 3.5 days. And the problem that a lot of people didn't have, they were telling us, the state was saying, don't use the ice out of the schools, don't use the ice out of school. And I said, why can't we use the ice out of the school? They said, because you gotta have food grade bags. I said, whoop-de-doo, I've got thousands of them. So we started using the food grade bags. The only thing that, when we get the next bags done, I'm gonna put on there Lincoln County Emergency Services donated ice, not for resale.
Yeah.
Because the stories that I'm hearing of things that were taken from us in June and July things that were stored and then resold to people, it's not only is it illegal, but it's just downright wrong. And we need to, it's a very serious balancing act between doing what we can and doing what's wrong. So we've got to, but the ice machine worked great for us, and I know that I think Harts has got a big freezer coming, they're gonna keep some on hand. McCorkle's wanting to do the same thing, and, we've got it there, it's there for anybody to use anytime for any function that you've got. Come and get your ice. You might have to help us bag it, but it's there, and there should be at least one freezer in stock all the time, they're full ice.
Okay, we hope to, the building next door in the court system, we're trying to get that all bought and set. We're trying to keep the kitchen and that feeding room downstairs, the banquet hall, as a place to use for emergencies too, as far as Chris talked about the town. So sometime you might need that, so we're hoping to be able to offer something here another year. But I do appreciate you guys taking out time to come, but appreciate you more for all the work you do every day out there in the communities, keeping things going and making things better for people out there. So sometimes we don't tell you enough, but certainly do appreciate it. Whatever capacity you have. I mean, you wouldn't be here tonight if you didn't care about the county and the people. So I certainly appreciate your effort to be here. And then when you leave here thinking about what can you do to help us, and knowing that you have our support of trying to make some things improve, because I think we just have to do that. We have to change priorities. To me, this is a priority right now.
Now, did everybody sign in with your email, your telephone number, so our next meeting I can kind of holler at you?
Francis?
Okay, I see faces sitting around here that don't come to our LEPC meeting. Guys, come to the LEPC meeting. That's where we get some of this stuff going.
I realize that, of course, that's one reason I thought, well, we have this special meeting, because a lot of them hasn't come and it can't or don't, whatever, but I just thought, well, maybe we can get together just for this special one time or anyway. But I do encourage you to be involved and stay involved most as you can. I realize I'm in some.
It's good to know that the commissioners are well aware of what's going on and like to do something about it.
Agree 100% on that.
It just took us a while to figure it out.
Yeah.
We have never been hit like we have.
Well, that's what, like Alan said, 2 years we went down there.
You want me to take it for next
So
time?
7 years we went without a declaration.
It
Now we got 4
could,
more.
we could say
I'm gonna
that,
let Keith sit, 'cause I miss my fan.
we could just say that since Michael's come on, we're improving.
Stirred up a storm there.